are live, ladies and gentlemen. This is the What's on Sports podcast, brought to you by our friends and of course, our sponsor, whatsonsports.com. My name is John Tedora, and I'll be your host today. And joining me, we call him the sports nerd because it's a fun thing to say. Lance Fernandez is here. Lance, how are you today?
Doing well. It's been a week since we've done this podcast, so kind of missed talking about sports and everything under it. So
I'm excited too. We have a huge show planned. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. Dwayne Haskins got signed with the Steelers. We have some salary cap information we're going to share with everybody. We're going to talk about the NFC Championship Game. We're going to talk about the AFC Championship Game. We're going to play a little game that we call Trade, Draft, or Stay Put. And we got a lot of fun planned today. But before we start the show and get too far into it, I want to remind everybody that we do have a sponsor. And our sponsor today is our friends over at Sports Trading Systems. If you want to learn how to trade sports like other people trade stocks, go over to Sports Trading Systems today and check out some really cool stuff. They're up 87% for basketball season this far. For basketball season so far this season. It's been an amazing season. They are absolutely killing the game over there. They've got information that nobody wants you to know. They teach you how to trade sports like other people trade stocks. It's absolutely fantastic. It's sportstradingsystems.com. Go there today and learn more. Now, Lance, before we get into too many things, you told me before the show you had some really interesting, really nerdy stats you wanted to share with me. So I'd love to hear some of them. Can you fire a few at me real quick so I can get my brain going?
Sure, John. So let's get to it. So this is the anniversary, actually, of the late Kobe Bryant's 81-point performance against the Toronto Raptors. So that's the second highest single game point total in NBA history after, of course, Will Chamberlain's 100. And it has been part of Kobe Bryant's folklore that he actually scored just 26 points in the first half during that game. So he made 55 against the Toronto Raptors.
Wow.
In the against the Toronto Raptors in the third and the fourth quarter, that it came to be a running joke with Jalen Rose every time the number 81 encounters him. So there has been this skit before wherein Kobe and Jalen Rose were discussing something, and Kobe Bryant brought up the number 81, and Jalen Rose's face was just deadpan silent. And it's kind of comical because he's one of the players who tried to stop Kobe. But unfortunately, there was nobody stopping Kobe during this day years ago.
So 15 years ago today, Kobe Bryant scores 81 points. I've seen that commercial with him and Jalen Rose. It's an absolutely hilarious commercial, in my opinion. Just super, super funny. So, rest in peace, Kobe. I think it was like 2 weeks ago was the anniversary of his death, unfortunately. But that's a great memory, man. I remember I didn't actually watch the game, but I remember seeing the highlights afterwards and just thinking, oh, my God, 81 points. That's just insane. Like, give me the ball and get out of my way. What else you got today?
Totally. So we're going to stick with the Lakers, and we're going to the current Lakers. So here's an interesting nugget for you. The current Lakers, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and company are starting the season 8-0 on the road. So they haven't lost an away game. And they're the sixth team in the last 30 years that has won 8 straight games on the road. Unfortunately, it's only the Houston Rockets in 1994 who has accomplished a championship after winning 8 straight games on the road.
So they're the only ones, huh? Okay. All right. Well, there goes Lance. That's the joy of doing these things online. We're having a little fun today. Lance Fernandez, I'll see you later. He'll be back for the show. Today I want to talk about something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. I try not to talk about them too much on the show because the show's about everything. But as I've told people many times before, I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan. And the Steelers recently signed Dwayne Haskins, former number 1 draft pick for the Washington football team, former Ohio State superstar. I think Haskins went like 15 overall, lasted a year and a half in Washington, got cut midway through this season, and just signed a futures contract with Pittsburgh. Now, what this means is that Haskins is getting paid very little. He's only getting paid about $800,000, which, to you and I seems like a lot of money, but to a guy like this, probably not that much. He'll be signed to a futures contract, which means he can stay with the team holds the right to put him on the roster for this year. So he'll have the offseason to work out with the Steelers. He'll be able to go to OTAs. He'll be able to hopefully make his way to training camp, and he'll be able to fight and get himself a roster spot. Now, I do follow a lot of the Steeler blogs, and I'm listening to people complain about why are they hiring Haskins, or some people are loving it, thinking he's the replacement to Ben Roethlisberger. And I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. I believe that Dwayne Haskins is one of those guys that, listen, he's a little immature. He only had 1 year at Ohio State. And obviously he did a lot of things in Washington to make a lot of people really, really, really upset. So much so that he got cut in the middle of the season. Now, that's a classic, huge fall from grace. Probably the biggest fall from grace we've ever seen before. I can't think of a player who started off the year as starting quarterback, team captain, and ends up cut 3/4 of the way throughout the season. Now, Haskins gets a chance to restart in a place that absolutely loves first-round draft choices. And I'm not even talking about their own. Pittsburgh has a history and a tendency to pick up first-round draft choices that other teams have let go. Last year alone, and now I'm not talking about 2020, 2019, without Ben Roethlisberger, they put a defense together with it, which was the number one defense in the NFL, and they had more first-rounders on that defense than I've ever seen on a team ever. They had 10 first-rounders on defense alone. They had signed Tyson Alualu from Jacksonville. They had signed Joe Hayden from Cleveland. They had signed we've signed Eric Ebron. We have signed just tons of people. At one point, Paxton Lynch was on the team. If there's a first-round draft choice out there and they're available, Pittsburgh will kick the tires and bring them in. And that's what I think is happening in this Haskins situation. I think Dwayne Haskins is basically just an opportunity that they're looking at. And if he turns out to be something, great. If he turns out to be nothing, that's fine too. It's worth it to kick the tires on a guy like Dwayne Haskins. Now, what does Dwayne Haskins bring to Pittsburgh? Well, first of all, the girls in the strip clubs are going to love him because Dwayne Haskins likes to go out and party. So Dwayne Haskins is going to go out, spend a little money, and boost the economy of Pittsburgh. But on a serious note, guys, Dwayne Haskins is going to give Pittsburgh an opportunity at a very, very talented quarterback to compete with not Ben Roethlisberger, but to compete with Mason Rudolph, and to have that kind of arm talent of Mason Rudolph, who was supposed to be a first rounder or graded by a lot of people as a first or second rounder, Dwayne Haskins, Ben Roethlisberger. You should have guys that are trying to impress each other in practice, push each other in practice to get a little bit better. And don't discount Josh Dobbs because Josh Dobbs is a really smart guy. So I could see Pittsburgh holding on to 3 or 4 quarterbacks throughout the season. And I think Haskins has an opportunity to recreate himself there. Tomlin has been known as that father figure, mentor type of guy. And it's no disrespect to anybody who's coached Haskins before. Maybe Haskins just needed to be rebooted. Maybe staying in Washington, which is an area he's from, wasn't the best thing for him. Maybe he needed to go out to a different city, try a different world, and see what it brings to him. So for me, as a Steeler fan and as a sports fan, I'm excited to see Dwayne Haskins. I'm excited to see him get an opportunity to compete. By all accounts, everyone says he's a nice guy, but obviously just a little immature. So that's the Dwayne Haskins story. I'm going to keep my eye on it throughout the offseason. I know a lot of fans are going to, whether they're Steeler fans or OSU fans or even some Washington football team fans. They'll be paying attention to see if Dwayne Haskins can actually make it in Pittsburgh. And I for one, think he's got a pretty good chance. Lance, you're back with me.
Yeah, I'm back. Maybe the ghost of Kobe Bryant is haunting my internet connection because I brought him up. So apologies to the Black Mamba for doing that. I'm just praising him for his 81-point performance. And then all of a sudden that happened.
I saw that. Well, welcome back. We're going to talk to some people today about something that I always find interesting, and I think a lot of people do as well. For those of you that are sports fans out there, you understand that your team is put together with a lot of constraints in place. Like you can't just go out and sign all the great players because you live in a big market like New York or Los Angeles. every team, especially in the NFL, is really constrained by a salary cap, a very strict salary cap. But there's something called an NFL a salary cap rollover, and Lance is going to explain it to us here today. And we're going to talk about the teams that have the biggest salary cap rollovers heading into next year, where the salary cap is predicted to go down about 15 or 20%. So a lot of teams are going to be in a really bad situation, Lance. They're going to have to make some choices. They're going to have to figure out who they want to keep and who they don't want to keep. So let's talk about that rollover now. Tell the people out there in the internet world exactly what the rollover is.
Okay, so in a nutshell, a rollover means that if you did not use a portion of your salary cap, it will hold over or roll over to next season's salary cap. So that's an additional cap relief for those teams who haven't expanded or expended all of their salary cap in the previous year. So let's say the salary cap for the 2021 season is like 175 million and one team has a rollover of 25, then they get a salary cap of 200 million. That's an
huge.
additional like 2 or 3 players.
Yeah, now nobody knew that COVID was going to cut the revenue of the NFL. So nobody could predict, 3-4 years ago. And that's how they work out the salary cap. They work it out years in advance. Nobody could predict this was going to happen. But some teams got lucky and had a lot of salary cap space. So what I'd like to know is who are the teams with the biggest salary cap? And then let's talk about what we think they can do with it.
Okay, so the biggest team with the biggest rollover, and they are very lucky to be in this situation, is the Cleveland Browns. They have 30.3 million in rollover, and they already are a playoff team. So they have players in place at quarterback, at running back, at wide receivers also, and they also have a decent defense already. And with that kind of a roster, imagine any free agent wanting to go to the Browns and the Browns having that cap space to sign them. So things are looking up for the Cleveland Browns. They're not the same lovable losers anymore. So they are here to stay, and they are here to contend, especially with that big rollover.
Yeah, when you think about Cleveland, if I'm an impending free agent, I'm looking about where I want to go. Cleveland doesn't have the best weather, but it is a really nice city if you've ever been there. It's a really fun city, a lot of great restaurants, nice bars, fun places to hang out. They have the flats up there where you can go and party with a bunch of clubs and stuff like that. I think Cleveland's a destination point at this point. You got a young quarterback, you got a great offensive coordinator, you've got a defense with some superstars on it, you've got some great weapons, you've got a good running game. If I'm looking to go somewhere and I fit into Cleveland and they could pay me, I'm going. That's a conference that I think is ripe for the picking, because Kansas City is going to lose some players this year and they're not going to be as strong as time goes on. And you're going to look at inside that actual division. Baltimore is hit and miss. They could be the best team in the NFL one week, and they could be a team that beats themselves the week after. Pittsburgh's getting older. Cleveland is on the upturn. $30 million. A lot of extra cap space. I think they're gonna make some big moves in the offseason. Who else has a big cap space?
Okay, so second on the list are the New York Jets, 26.6 million of cap rollover. Now, this is a team that needs a lot, unlike the Cleveland Browns. They do have some Sam Darnold at quarterback, but would you rather stick with him or rather go with the draft and pick somebody else? And if you pick somebody else, a better quarterback that is, are you going to go in free agency to get better wide receivers or better weapons to surround that young quarterback? But aside from the offense, they also need a lot on the defensive side of the ball, rather. So they will be able to maximize this rollover, this cap space, to sign a lot of players that can plug some holes in their roster.
Yeah, listen, you think about the Jets, and 25 million is a lot of money that they didn't spend in the cap this year. But as bad as they were, I would have thought they had $70 million in cap space. I mean, that's an awful team. There are no superstars in that team, and they have a quarterback under a rookie contract. So I didn't realize that they only had 25 million to roll over. So that may give them $70-80 million in cap space in the offseason. They got a ton of holes to fix. I don't know about that Deshaun Watson trade I keep hearing about. I keep hearing about this Deshaun Watson trade. You bring Watson there, he takes up $30 million in cap space right away. And I don't know, man. That's a tricky one for me. I mean, that is not a destination for me. I would not, if I was a player and you said you could sign with the Jets, they have a lot of extra cap space, I would say, pass. I'd rather go to Cleveland. Who's next on the list?
Okay, so number three, and this is surprising because this is a team that likes to spend a lot of money paying their players. It's the Dallas Cowboys at 25.4 million
Ooh,
rollover.
wow.
But I guess the biggest concern for that rollover is they have to resign long-term Dak Prescott
Yeah.
because Andy Dalton is a decent option at quarterback, but he is no Dak Prescott talent-wise and skill-wise. Prescott is on the upswing while Dalton may have had his best years at the back of him. So the priority for the Dallas Cowboys is to resign Dak Prescott, and much of this rollover will go to that money because they don't have a buffer of a rookie year, unlike a Mahomes, unlike a Jared Goff, wherein they were able to extend contracts with 1 year or 2 years left in their rookie deals. Unfortunately for Jerry Jones, he will feel the full brunt of this salary extension for Prescott, and this rollover, most of it that is, would go just into that extension of Prescott's contract.
I haven't followed how Dak Prescott is rehabbing or healing. I'm sure there's Instagram videos of him doing something at some point, but that was such a horrific injury that I don't know if he's ever going to be the same again. He was never that running quarterback that was like, going to escape the pocket and, like a Lamar Jackson or something. But, Dak could move a little bit. I got to wonder if it's going to hurt his mobility. I got to wonder if it's going to hurt his confidence in the pocket. Quarterbacks have people falling at their legs all the time. That's a tough one for me. I don't know if I would spend the money on a guy like Dak Prescott coming back, but I don't know what your options are at this point either. It's not like Dallas has huge options. They do draft kind of low in the draft. They may have a shot at one of these rookie quarterbacks. I would not be surprised to see Dallas say, you know what, we're not going to go with Dak. We're going to wait to see who falls to us as a quarterback in the first round, and we're going to build around a rookie contract. I would not be surprised to see that happen. And if they do, they're going to have a huge amount of cap space in order to build a winning team around that rookie quarterback. Give me one more. Who's got more a little more space?
Okay, so the fourth team with the highest salary cap rollover coming into the 2021 season, and another team that needs a lot of players to plug a lot of holes in their roster. The Jacksonville Jaguars won their first game and then lost the 15. And that means that they need a lot in their roster. Quarterback, wide receivers, O-line, D-line, running back, everywhere.
Yeah.
They need an overhaul for this roster, and that 23.4 million will come in handy for Urban Meyer to have essentially a new team in Jacksonville, Florida.
You got huge salary cap space. You got a creative coach. You're going to have the number one draft pick as a quarterback. You got no state tax. Jacksonville has an opportunity to really build a winner there. The only thing that's against Jacksonville at this point, in my opinion, is that culture's been so bad for so long. Nobody wants to stay there. They've had superstars come in the door, hang out for a while, and never stick around. So I would like to see. I like Jacksonville. Like our home office is actually in Jacksonville. So I would love to see Jacksonville build up a winner. So when I'm visiting the home office, I can go and hang out in that stadium and get the seats up by the pool. So that would be kind of cool for me. Now, listen, for you guys out there that are listening right now, we do invite you to interact with the show. We do invite you to bring your comments in. Right now, we do have a comment from somebody in the audience from Laram23. Ready for a mind-blowing Tom Brady stat? Are you ready over there, Sports Nerd? Here's a Tom Brady stat. This is according to Laram23. So this could be 100% true or 100% false. He has the fourth most wins all time versus NFC opponents in the playoffs, tied with Aikman and Breeze. Is he counting Super Bowls? If he's counting Super Bowls, I believe the stat, because as of right now, he's only got 2 wins. But if he's counting Super Bowls, and I believe Tom is 5, that would give him 7, and that would be very possible. We're gonna have to look that one up. Yeah. Is that what it is? Is that what he's talking about here?
Yeah, that's pretty much accurate, his claim.
Oh, he's right. Oh, wow. Good for you, Leland. All right, buddy. All right, we're going to talk about the NFC and the AFC Championship games. These are going to be big games that we're going to be talking about. We're going to tell you our picks. Last week, I was on fire again. I've been unbelievable in the playoffs. The Sports Nerd has not been as good, but he's been pretty decent. And we're going to share our picks with you guys and break down each one of the games in just a little bit. But before we do, we're going to play a little game that we invented, and the game is called Trade, Draft, or Stay Put. And what we're going to do is Lance is going to introduce a team to me, and then we're going to talk about if that team should trade, draft, or stay put at the quarterback position, which is the most important position in sports. And that's what we're doing today. The name of the game is trade, draft, or stay put. Lance, fire away.
Okay, let's get the ball rolling. First team, Jacksonville Jaguars. What do they need to do, John?
The Jacksonville Jaguars, 1,000,000,000,000,000,000,000,000% will draft a quarterback. You can't stay put with Gardner Minshew. You can't trade for anybody, or at least I would not trade for anybody. You have an opportunity with a team that's stripped down to the soup and nuts to take a brand new quarterback, keep him on a 5-year rookie contract, and build around him. He's a legendary talent coming out of the draft. He's a once in a generation guy. They haven't seen a guy like this since Andrew Luck. Bring him in, build an offense around him, build an entire team around him, and worry about the salary cap ramifications of having a superstar quarterback like that 6 years from now. But in the next 5 years, you got salary cap, you got warm weather, you got no state tax, and you got a team that could do something. I say you draft a quarterback.
Yeah, I do agree. You have to draft a quarterback. We have Trevor Lawrence in the precipice already. But again, one person cannot lead you to the promised land, especially in the NFL. You need to hit in all positions, in all aspects of the game. So with Trevor Lawrence locked in at number 1, you need to fuel him or put weapons around him to finally build a winning culture in Jacksonville.
I agree. What's the next team?
Okay, next team, New York Jets. Trade, draft, stay put.
Look, if I'm the Jets, I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to trade, and I'm going to draft. And I'm not going the Deshaun Watson route. That team is far too beat up to be bringing in a $30 million quarterback. That's not the answer. The answer is you got a new coach who's going to build a solid defense, and he's going to need a lot of weapons. He's going to need a good quarterback that he can build around. Sam Darnold may have all the talent in the world, but it has not been exploited. You have missed your window, and that it's a small window, but you've missed your window to build around that rookie quarterback. Sam Darnold still has some value to somebody out there who won't be able to draft in the top half of the draft, but desperately needs a quarterback. You may be able to trade him to somebody like New Orleans or somebody like that that's seen some potential in him that's later, or New England that maybe wants to take a shot at him, doesn't mind paying the contract, but you get him out of your books. You draft a brand new quarterback. You get the kid from BYU. You get the kid from Ohio State. You bring him in. You build everything from the ground up with, again, same philosophy. Rookie quarterback, 5 years to build that team up again. That's what I'm going to do if I am the New York Jets. I'm trading Sam Darnold. I'm getting something back, and I'm drafting a quarterback.
Yeah, I do agree with trading Sam Darnold, but the question would be, are there many bidders for Sam Darnold, because his current volume of work isn't that astonishing. So he has been struggling over the years with the Jets. So performances alone, that is not a good that is not a good performance to base off what he could be in the future. So the best option for the New York Jets is to give Sam Darnold one more opportunity, and then get a younger quarterback that will contend for him in the position. If it happened to be that the younger quarterback will be better than him, then he will be benched. Or if he really wants the job, then he will compete for it with a younger, fresher quarterback already in the roster for the New York Jets.
I disagree with you just for the simple fact that I think if you keep Darnold and you draft somebody, the destination for Darnold eventually is on the bench. That's where he's going to go. And as soon as he hits the bench, he loses value. Right now, he's looked at as a starting quarterback. He's looked at as a guy with a tremendous amount of talent. He's looked as a guy that a lot of people would like to have in their hands this year, so they could test him for a year or two and actually see if he's worth another contract. So that's one place I'm gonna disagree with you. Give me another team.
Okay, third team, Indianapolis Colts. Draft, trade, stay put.
Ooh. Look, you have no Phillip Rivers. You have actually no quarterback on your team because I believe both their quarterbacks are free agents. They're going to probably draft. They're going to draft. or they're going to try to grab somebody out of free agency, which I don't think was an option for us. But it's impossible for them to stay put. They can't stay put. If they can draft where they're drafting, which I think is like 24, they're not going to get much. I don't think they're in the trading mindset. Deshaun Watson could be 3 first-round draft choices, 4 first-round draft choices. But 2 minutes ago, we were looking for a destination for Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold going to Indianapolis for a second-round draft choice is a heck of a deal for both teams. The Jets get a second-rounder. The Indianapolis Colts get a starting caliber quarterback who's still young for a second-round pick. I think it's a win-win. And the Colts still have a tremendous amount of cap space coming into this year. So if you bring in Darnold, you still have 2 more years on a rookie deal. You can surround him with a lot of talent. I think now that I've worked it out in my head, they're going to trade. Sam Darnold's the pick.
Okay. I would have to say that the Indianapolis are leaning towards staying put, but not after inquiring the availability of other quarterbacks. So remind you that Jacoby Brissett did have 2 years as a starting quarterback, and he did. During those years, he did not have a complete roster around him. So now that he has a new coach and he has a better roster around him, I guess that he will do better. And nothing happens if Jacoby Brissett fails for the 3rd time, then consider it a gap year and then draft another quarterback next season.
Yeah, the biggest problem is Jacoby Brissett's a free agent as well. So Phillip Rivers left. Jacoby Brissett's a free agent. So in order to bring back Brissett, you've got to re-sign him. You have to spend a lot of money to bring Brissett back because you're bringing him back as a starter. He's going to want some type of starter money, 17, 18, $15 million. I just don't see it happening. I don't see that being an option for them, in my personal opinion. Give me one more team, and we'll wrap this up.
Okay, this one might be the toughest among all teams that I'll give you. Houston Texans.
Ooh. Look, out of principle, I'm not doing anything. Deshaun Watson being 25 years old, being the quarterback of the team, thinking he should have some input on who the general manager is insane to me. Now, whoever told Deshaun that he would have that type of control is an idiot. I mean, just a complete idiot. But with that being said, I can't imagine that any employee ever thought that they should be in charge of who their boss is going to be. This trend in sports where these guys actually think that they should pick who their coach is, they should pick who their general manager is preposterous to me. You're an employee, and you may be a super talented, superstar employee, but when you leave, another employee will take your place. You're not the owner of the team. The owner's the only constant that ever happens in any franchise. The Rooneys have owned the Steelers for 1 billion years, and they will probably continue to own it for 1 billion more. They make the decisions. They decide who the general manager is. Ben Roethlisberger does not, and nor does Deshaun Watson have the right to think at 25 years old, having the life experience of a quarterback, should be the one to decide who should draft. Who should be hired as the general manager of the entire team. I disagree with the premise, and I disagree more with the fact that Watson thinks he's going to force himself out of Houston. If Houston allows this to happen, they're going to lose their pull with everybody. They're going to lose their fan base, and it's going to be a nightmare to build it back. I think if you're Houston, you stand pat and you say play or retire. Those are your options.
Yeah, I do agree with your scenario, John, because let's face it, Deshaun Watson is still under contract with the Houston Texans, so he doesn't have the leverage really. The NFL is not the NBA. James Harden can easily ask for a trade, and then it happened. But in the NFL, it doesn't happen that way. So he'd rather have to play out his contract and do well. And if he gets traded, I believe that out of principle as well, Caserio would like to trade him in the least possible team that will make a playoff run. Out of spite, I guess. Bury him. So that would be the New York Jets. They do have some draft capital. So in exchange for Watson, Caserio, and the Texans get a lot of draft picks in return, and Deshaun Watson will have wasted like 2 or 3 seasons more in his stellar career just because he has been playing in a bad team.
I just thinking about something. Imagine you're a Houston fan. Imagine you're a Houston fan. You're like, oh, we have the Rockets, we have the Texans, we got James Harden, we got Deshaun Watson. And then all of a sudden, Harden doesn't want to play there anymore. Now you got to trade away Harden. 2 weeks later, Deshaun Watson says, I don't want to be here either. This is a nightmare scenario if you're a Houston fan. If you're a Houston sports fan, you got to be sitting around right now going, what else could possibly go wrong here? What are they going to do next? Cut JJ Watt? Maybe. That's a possibility in Houston, actually. Lance, great segment. I love the teams you put together. Good job. Guys, I want to remind everybody out there very quickly that we do have a sponsor. If you're watching the show live on YouTube or on Facebook, you can see that the bottom of the screen says this show is being powered by our friends over at Sports Trading System. For those of you that like to learn how to trade sports like other people trade stocks, go to Sports Trading System today. Now, I know you're thinking, what the heck does that mean? Trade sports like trade stocks. These guys use back-tested historical data to find patterns inside the matrix that teach us how to actually find games that have a high probability of winning. Now, every game doesn't win, but more games win than lose. And they teach you how to use an investment system that isn't about betting. It's about using unit allocation, stop losses, and a lot of other fancy words that I don't even know what the heck they mean. Go over to sportstradingsystems.com today and learn how to trade sports like other people trade stocks. You will not regret it. These guys are up 87% in basketball this season alone. That is phenomenal. Amazing. Sportstradingsystems.com. Go there right now. Big weekend coming up in football. I mean, huge, enormous weekend. This is actually my favorite weekend in football. Now, a lot of people get super hyped about the Super Bowl. A lot of people get super hyped about the opening weekend. A lot of people get super hyped about the first week of the playoffs. To me, this is it. This is when you see the best week of football. We've got 2 games coming this weekend with the 4 best teams left over in the entire NFL. Today, we're going to break down NFC and AFC. We're going to talk exactly about what the games are. First, Lance, I want to get your perspective on the NFC game. Now, we're looking at 2 legendary quarterbacks going against each other. You've got Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, #1 offense in football. That is a machine right now, going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, Godwin, Fournette. I mean, this is a team that is loaded with superstars. They are ready. They've been talking about it all year long. Tampa Bay has been rocking. The Super Bowl's in Tampa. If they were to win, I believe they would be the first home team to ever host a Super Bowl and be in the Super Bowl. I mean, this game has so many stories interlaid over top of each other. What's your perspective on this game, Lance?
I see it as a high-scoring game, John, actually, even though both teams do have decent defenses. Tom Brady wouldn't let you down. It's hard to really bet against Tom Brady. Time and time again, he has proven to be a winner, regardless of situation, be it snow at Lambeau Field, be it he has done it before with the Oakland Raiders when they won in the snow. So that wouldn't bother him. And of course, Aaron Rodgers, the best quarterback in the league right now. It's not Patrick Mahomes, it's him. Bar none, he is the MVP of the league. And he has just thrown like crazy all season long. So it's a nice competition between 2 great quarterbacks. It will be a gunslinging fight, I believe. However, there are some few minor concerns or like additions that might play a big role in this matchup. One is Antonio Brown's availability. So he is down with an injury. So he's still day-to-day. So that might be a big toll in the Buccaneers campaign to be the first team to host a Super Bowl. And of course, the low-key addition of a Vita Vea in defense. So that can bolster your front line on defense so they can put more pressure and Aaron Rodgers so as to disrupt his plays with Aaron Jones or Devontae Adams or even Lazard.
Listen, I think right now, look, as a story, I would love to see Tom Brady come back to the snow, beat Green Bay, host the Super Bowl, do what he said he was going to do, win a Super Bowl without Bill Belichick, But right now, Aaron Rodgers is playing quarterback at a level that I don't think I've ever seen someone play quarterback before. And there's a lot of layers to why this is happening. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers has greatness inside of him. He is a legendary quarterback at this point. He is playing in an offense that is absolutely like humming and clicking. But Aaron Rodgers is at his best right now because there's no crowd. And Aaron can take his time. He can set up. He waits until the last second to snap that football. And he is absolutely positively shredding people with what he's doing. And they're calling a great game. They know when to mix up the run. It's not all passing. When it is passing, Aaron Rodgers is going down the field. He is just smoking people. I mean, seriously, this should go down, and it's not going to, because people are so obsessed with Patrick Mahomes and what Patrick Mahomes can do. But this should go down as one of the greatest seasons a quarterback has ever had in the history of the NFL. Aaron Rodgers has been out of his mind this year. And up until this year, I wasn't even a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. I'm not going to lie. I was like, Rodgers is good. I watched a lot of Green Bay games this year. He is outstanding. Fantastic. Amazing. To me, this is the 3.5-point game, Lance. Packers are favored by 3.5. I don't think the spread's big enough. I really don't. I think the Packers are going to walk all over them. I think you're going to see a lot of dejected Tampa Bay players. I would be shocked, absolutely shocked, if anything else happened but that.
Well, I do see the your explanation or your reasoning behind Green Bay winning big, but let's not forget that Tampa Bay is a complete roster, except for that questionable secondary, of course. So that's the thing right there. Once that front four of the Tampa Bay defense gets to penetrate through that Packers O-line, because mind you, even though the Rams did have 0 sacks against Green Bay in their divisional round, there were instances wherein the Rams defensive line was able to break through. It just so happened that Aaron Rodgers was just so good in evading pass rushers. So I still give Tampa Bay a shot here. I believe that they will win in a close game, a last-minute, last-second drive. I see them winning by a field goal.
I would like to see it happen. I really would, but I just got to tell you, I just don't see it happening. By the way, it's a 3.5-point game. The over/under right now is 51.5. How do you see this for a scoring game? You think it's going to be a high-scoring game?
I believe it's over 51.5. You have two great quarterbacks, so. Yeah.
Interesting. Very, very interesting.
You have two, because you have two of the best. You have two of the best quarterbacks who can work with zone defenses. So that's why it's a no-brainer for me that it would be over 51.5.
The weather right now is saying snow in Green Bay. Now it might be a light snow, might not be a sticky snow. It might be 6 feet of snow. We don't know. I think depending on the weather, this could be an under game. This could be a 17-7 game. This could be one of those games, 24-10, where you're like, wow, that wasn't a very high-scoring game at all. So if you're asking me right now, I've done no analytics on this at all. I'll say Packers and the under. That's my choice. What are you going to go with? Little bit of a delay there. Lance, what's your picks for the weekend? NFC. All right, I'm going to say Lance picked Tampa and the over. So he did exactly the opposite of what I did, and that's what I really love. You know what we're going to do now, guys? We're going to flip our attention to the game that really everybody's been talking about. The two young quarterbacks, the two gunslingers going at each other. We've got Patrick Mahomes against Josh Allen. You got Kansas City, who's going to their third AFC Championship game in a row, against Buffalo, who hasn't been to an AFC Championship game since I was 7. I mean, this is an amazing, amazing matchup of two young studs. Lance, you with me? Lance is still frozen. That's awesome. Of two young studs who are going to go at each other this weekend. Now, the line is 2.5. Kansas City minus 2.5. And the over-under right now is 56, which means people think this is going to be a huge scoring game. They think this is going to be one of those crazy, crazy games. Let me tell you something. Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback. He really is. Josh Allen is becoming a great quarterback. But there's a factor that a lot of people are not taking into account here that needs to be discussed. Patrick Mahomes is coming off a really bad injury. I mean, not even like a small injury, guys. This is a huge injury for Patrick. They're calling it a concussion. They're saying he's in the concussion protocol, which I don't understand because everything I read led me to believe there was a pinched nerve in his neck, and which makes sense when you saw the hit. When Patrick Mahomes got hit on that play, he kind of got down. It was almost like a WWE style wrestling move where he got like yanked by the neck, and he got up, and I was like, wow, it didn't even look like his head hit the ground or anything. If it's a pinched nerve in his neck, Mahomes will be thinking about that the entire time he's out there. It's impossible not to. I had a horrific knee injury whenever I was younger. Tore my ACL, MCL, and PCL. For the next 5 years, every time I did something, I thought my knee was going to pop. There's a moment that you got to get over, and I'm not sure how Patrick Mahomes is going to be able to do that. Lance, you with me?
Yes, sir, I'm here. So maybe another ghost of Kobe Bryant happening?
I love it. You're back. That's all that matters. Talking about Kansas City, talking about Buffalo, what do you think is going to happen this weekend?
Yeah, sir. I just heard the back end of your explanation of your theory, and you're right. The biggest question coming into this game is Patrick Mahomes' health. It's not just enough that he clears all 5 steps of the concussion protocol, but how game ready is he coming into this game? Because you can be cleared for all you want, but the mental aspect of that injury can still haunt you over and over again, especially when that Buffalo front 4 gets through the Kansas City O-line. So will he be scared? Will he scramble? Will he pull the trigger? So those are the questions that might be lingering in his mind coming into this game, because it's not good what we've seen with his injury. He was dizzy, he was dazed and confused, and it looked like more than just a concussion. It was really a nerve damage or a nerve infraction or something that it's more than just, it takes more than just, I believe it takes more than just a week to heal from, or to regenerate your energy from. So when that happens, if Mahomes won't play at par, then they will be at a disadvantage because it will be Chad Henne again. Even though Chad Henne is a 13-year veteran and he did pull off some Henne magic during the divisional with that run against Cleveland, would you bet on him leading the Kansas City Chiefs for more than one sequence? So the odds are not stacked are not stacked to Kansas City's favor. So Patrick Mahomes will be the biggest concern coming into this game. If he plays, and if he plays well, then it would be a close contest against Buffalo. If it doesn't, or is pulled out of the game because of bad performance, then Buffalo will be entering their 5th Super Bowl in franchise history.
Listen, to be clear, I believe that if Patrick Mahomes plays, if he's 100%, they're going to beat Buffalo because they're a better team than Buffalo. And it's not about him being a better quarterback than Josh Allen. They're a better team than Buffalo. They have a better defense than Buffalo. They have a better secondary than Buffalo. They have a pass rush. They have a running game. You know, Buffalo is basically right now Josh Allen and his wide receivers. That's their entire team. That's what they do, and it's worked for them. But they're a one-dimensional team, and I think that they can be locked down and figured out. If they can get to Allen and if they can lock down these receivers, they won't be able to keep up with the amount of the output that Kansas City can put out against that Bills defense. So this could be one of those games where you're like, this is only 2.5 point spread. This might be a tight game. It might be a blowout, but I gotta wonder what Mahomes' situation is going to be. I gotta wonder how he's going to feel mentally, even if he's cleared 100%. How he's going to feel mentally, how it's going to affect him. He always comes off like that gunslinger mentality, but you just don't know how it's going to affect him. I believe you got cut off earlier. I'll tell you what the line is. The line's 2.5 right now. It's Kansas City minus 2.5. The over-under is 56. What do you think is going to happen this weekend?
I believe it will be under 56, and the plus minus 2.5 is based on the fact that Mahomes isn't yet cleared to play. But once there's an official announcement that he will be cleared to play, I see that line going to like 7.5 because in all
Really?
aspects of the game, the Kansas City Chiefs does have an advantage. But let's not forget the fact that in all of the losses or in some of the games that Kansas City played in the regular season, the teams that they struggled with the most in terms of lead advantage are the ones who are playoff bound or had a winning record. They only defeated those teams by a margin of an average of 7 points. So that's just one touchdown. So they struggled against teams with a better record in the regular season, though they only lost once. But it shows how can they struggle? How can they struggle against better teams, especially with the Buffalo Bills?
Look, I know I'm contradicting myself here. All season long, and I've taken a tremendous amount of grief from this from Chiefs fans. I mean, I've had hate mail from Chiefs fans. But the reality of it is that I don't think Kansas City's that good. I don't think they've played that well. Let me rephrase that. I think they're a very good team. I think they've got a tremendous amount of talent. They probably have more talent on offense than anybody in the AFC. And I count Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy in that talent of offense type of conversation. But they have not played well. They've been a very inconsistent team. And the Bills have been very consistent, especially leading into the playoffs here. So I don't know, man. This is crazy to me. You know, this is the first time that in the history of the NFL that we have all four quarterbacks are coming in on 6-game winning streaks or better into the championship games. So I don't know, man. I don't know what we're going to see here. I don't know what's going to happen, but there are a lot of scenarios. If you had to put me on the spot right now and I had to pick a game right now and I had to pick a winner, I would say it's going to be the Chiefs, and it's still going to be under. So under 56, the Chiefs, if it's 2.5, I'll take that all day long. And that's where I'm going to stay right now. I'm crushing it throughout the playoffs. My record's better than you, but today you got an opportunity to overtake me a little bit and try to win. I wish you luck, buddy. I wish you all the luck in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who have been watching the show, we do come to you live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you're watching us on YouTube or you're watching us on Facebook, click follow, click like, click subscribe, click one of those buttons so you're always notified when we do go live and when we post a new video. My name is John Tedora, and with me today are the sports nerd, Mr. Lance Fernandez. Lance, wave goodbye to everybody.
Ciao. It will be an interesting and happy championship weekend for all of us.
100%. Go over and check us out at our website, which is whatsonsports.com. By the way, next week, big news coming up when we tell you more information about the $2